Okay, in front of me I have Achim Schloeffel. He's the CEO and founder of InnerSpace Explorers. And I got a couple of questions for him in order to get a better view on this new exciting agency. Okay, could you tell me, Achim, what do you think makes your agency, InnerSpace Explorers, unique or different to other ones?
Yeah. Before I started InnerSpace Explorers, I was teaching technical diving for quite a while, and honestly, I think every diver who goes into this technical diving has a dream. May sound a little bit stupid, but I think that it is the truth. Everybody dreams about this unique cave or this virgin wreck or something like that. He wants to be part of something bigger. And I trained so many people, and they started with the real fundamental stuff, and then they went into higher technical levels. And a couple of years later, you find the equipment on eBay. So you give them a call, like, hey, what happened? And the answer is like, well, I just lost interest. I was like, why? And people say, well, I wanted to do something really cool, and I ended up in the same quarry every weekend, just with a couple of more stages. Yeah. And that sort of made me think, and I think as a training agency there is a responsibility to allow people or to enable people to dive on a level that you train them for, which means if I train somebody a level 2 technical trimix class, it is me as an agency that should give them access to dives like that. If somebody comes to me and makes a wreck class, I should enable him to do some really cool wreck diving and not just go to Egypt and do the North Tour for the 1000th time. Yeah. And so the term exploration is in everybody's mouth, but a lot of people never get access to real exploration, and a lot of people think that exploration is always the extreme thing. You have to go to the other end of the world, you have to dive 100 meters deep, you have to invest shitloads of money, all of this, and I think it's wrong. I think exploration is something that can be in front of your door, you just have to see it. But there's so much stuff to explore, especially underwater. And what makes InnerSpace Explorers is unique, that we really try to involve our students, our clients, into everyday's exploration. So all our centers and instructors form small projects, and it's not InnerSpace Explorers headquarters that goes there and does the cool dives. It's students that go. So when you go on the website, you, for example, find the Viking project, as we call it, and that's a couple of wrecks from the 16th century that sit in front of Denmark in 3 meters of water. But it is really exciting diving. But the people that we asked to join us there was BOE students, because it was exactly their level of diving, and everybody got really excited because they could be part of something really cool. So I think that's a huge difference.
Yeah, it is, sure. Okay, then talking about BOEs and level 1s, side mount, open circuit, could you explain to us a bit about the structure of the courses and how we've organized that?
Since last year, you can start your diving career with InnerSpace Explorers. So there is a recreational level 1 and 2, which is equal to a BOE plus, and that brings us to the first. It's not a technical level; it's a foundational level. So the BOE Basics of Exploration and Basics of Exploration Extended Plus is a class for basically every diver. So unless you're certified, you can participate in this class, and we have a very wide range of students. We have trimix instructor trainers and open water students in the same class. And the funny thing is that everybody learns something in it. I call it a class to fix issues. So when you look at today's diving education, there's no offense about any agency, but there's a lot of very fast, very cheap stuff. And when you look at divers, basically every diver is missing some sort of skills, some sort of technique. Some very obvious, some are not so obvious. So the basics of exploration, first of all, create a solid diver with solid skills, and at the same time open the door a little bit so you get a little bit of a vision what ISE is about, and that there's a total different world of what you can do underwater except swimming along and watching funny fish. Yeah. And so when you finish your BOE, and already your BOE you can do in 3 different configurations, back mount, side mount, rebreather. But normally, I mean, I would say 80% of the people do it in back mount, because that's where they're coming from. And then you can go into the technical levels, which is always level 1, 2, 3. But we have the cave branch, we have the rec branch, and we have the exploration range, which is basically trimix. And around from that, there's of course a couple of workshops. There's a survey workshop, a scooter workshop, things like that. And obviously rebreather training, so you can start your rebreather career also in InnerSpace Explorers on various machines.
Okay. I've seen on the website that there's a little bit going on regarding the recreational diving. What are your thoughts on recreational diving? And
well, recreational diving became a money printing machine, and when I see divers that do 4 dives and spend an hour in front of a DVD and then are released as certified divers, I mean, just the wrong way of doing it.
Yeah.
I mean, first of all, regarding the safety of the diver, and of course also regarding the protection of our planet. I mean, when you see these divers, no buoyancy control, no awareness, how can you release them into an environment that is already endangered? So the ISE approach is for sure not for everybody. It's much more time intense. It's of course a little bit more expensive than $99 around the corner.
yes.
But it creates a diver. So that, for me, that's a big difference. I mean, you have people who just want to check out the sports. So they want it fast, they want it cheap, they want to see it, and next year they do another sport.
Yeah.
And then, of course, you have people who want to go a little bit deeper into the sport, and then you have people who want to become divers. That's, I mean, it's a phrase, but I think it shows you what I have in mind. And so this is probably the customers that want to do a recreational training with InnerSpace Explorers. It's 12 dives minimum. It's real sessions with an instructor face to face. It's not like watching a video. And pool sessions. There's a huge section about comfort in the water, which I think is a huge difference, because when you've been on liveaboards, you see people that freak out because they have a problem with their mouthpiece, like they bit it through, or they have a leak in mask. And it's a real problem, and the reason for that is they don't have comfort in the water. So a huge section of the initial program is comfort building in the water. So basically wherever gas is coming from, you should be able to breathe it. And having a mask is well, it's comfortable with a mask, but it's no problem without.
Okay.
Stuff like that.
And something else that caught my attention was a program, or maybe a course. It's called EcoDiver.
Yeah.
Tell me a little bit more about that.
EcoDiver is a really cool program. It's a one-day program. It's free. So it's actually sponsored by InnerSpace Explorers. So the instructor doesn't have any cost except his time. And it's for every diver. Unless you have some sort of certification, you can participate. And you get a little bit of an idea of environmental friendly diving. So the instructor gives a little bit of a lecture and introduces a couple of projects, like our pond project, our reef project, things like that. You get a checkout of your equipment regarding more environmental friendly diving, like, okay, this hose could be routed a little bit better so your octopus is not dangling down, don't use the console, small stuff like that. So just a little bit of a guidance. And then there's a checkout dive, where there's also a little bit of skill fine-tuning. Okay, when you shift your weight a little bit, you get better trim, you get your knees up, probably try this fin technique. So it has a little bit from a basics of exploration class, and it makes people aware that there might be problems, there's probably something else. So of course it's a bit of an advertisement tool for us as well. It would be a lie if we do this just because we're so nice. But I think it gives a lot of a view to potential customers. And even if they do not do an IC class afterwards, I think it's an experience for them. So you get a nice patch and a card and everything. So
nice.
diploma. So yeah.
Okay, so on the other side of an eco-diver, there will be the entry level, or not even level, just getting to know ISE, what we're all about, would be to become an instructor.
Yeah.
Could you tell me a bit more about instructor training, what does an instructor need to become an ISE instructor, InnerSpace Explorers, to teach for InnerSpace Explorers?
Well, if you watched us over the past 8 years, you will have realized that we grow very slowly. And this is not because nobody wants to become an instructor, but we're really careful on whom we allow to teach for us. And we control instructor training really, really sharp. So, first of all, you have to be trained at least one level above what you want to teach. So when you want to become a BOE instructor, which is the start for everybody, you have to be at least level 1 trained.
That makes sense, yeah.
We do not do any crossover classes. So it's not like I'm an instructor from this and this organization, so a couple of €100 fee, and so that doesn't work. So you have to go through the full thing. Instructor training is always done by 2 different instructor trainers, and there is only 4, and one of them has to be me. So it's not because I'm such an arrogant person, but it's I want to keep control, and I've seen so many organizations that started great and then went down the drain because at some point it became really commercial and growth, and it's great. And of course, I mean, if we would have a couple of 100 instructors, financially that probably would be nice, but then we would be just another organization, and this is not what I want. I want to maintain this high level that we have at the moment. So instructor training means you need 2 signatures from 2 different instructor trainers, and this ensures that we maintain this high level that we have today.
Okay. What do you think InnerSpace Explorer is going to be in 10 years?
Still the greatest dive organization in the world. No. Well, I mean, we grow, no question about that. Yeah. So at the moment, the Asian market is something that we are really interested in. We will expand in that direction. We actually found a really nice person there that we're gonna work with in the near future. Obviously, there's another continent across the water. I think it's called America. Oh, so yes. We'll see how this goes. And growth, more people, more instructors. A couple of really cool projects coming up. And I hope we are still there and a little bit bigger than today. Yeah. And all around the world, creating great divers and helping people to have fun underwater. Yeah, it's cool.
Achim, could you tell us why you started or created InnerSpace Explorers?
Well, you know that I used to teach for another agency before, for quite a couple of years, and at a certain point I was not satisfied anymore with the way it was going, and I had my very own ideas of how proper technical training. Hey Trimax, what are you doing here?
Just take off the cat for a second. Just about that.
So, I have my very, very own ideas of how technical training should be. I still believe that when it comes to technical diving, training should be really, really on the spot. There's no time for joking around. I mean, this is a life-threatening sport, and the training should be spot on. There's no room for maybe it should be yes. Either you can do it or you can't do it. Yeah. And finding this out is, for example, what is the major thing in our level 1 class, which in my opinion is the most important class in the range of technical classes that we offer. And this is mainly about finding out if the person is physically and psychologically able to do technical diving, handle a problem underwater. And in my opinion, you want to find out if this is the case in 5 meters of water with an instructor next to you, and not because you get a card in exchange for your Visa card, yes, and then find out in 80 meters of water that, oops, basically I cannot handle the problem because it was never in my class, because it was just nice and easy. So that was my prime intention.
So your level 1 classes, are they, you also do them on side mount, open circuit?
Yeah, in ISE you can do your training in 3 configurations. You can do classical back mount, you can do side mount, and you can do rebreather. Because I think it doesn't make much sense, when you look at the diving scene, there's somebody who decided at some point in his diving career to go rebreather, then he get his rebreather training, and he doesn't dive back mount anymore. So now he decides, oh, okay, I want to go deeper into this technical stuff and I want to do IC training. So we force him to go back on back mount, which I think is not logic. So he can come in his rebreather if he's trained on it, and can do his training in his rebreather.
Okay. So we all know that last year's side mount diving has become very popular. I had a look into this and I see you started that already a while ago. So could you tell me a little bit more about the philosophy behind the type of side mount diving you promote and you dive?
Sure. When you look at this hype, let's call it a hype, and I think it is kind of that, at some point everybody wanted to dive side mount, and you see some really ridiculous things. And for me, I like to compare side mount diving, or the approach to side mount diving, a little bit like when you go and buy a car. When you buy a race car, you want it to be able to go on a racetrack. When you buy an SUV, you want it to be able to go off-road. And same thing with side mount. I mean, if you want a side mount rig, if you want side mount training, it should be formed in a way that enables you to go into the original side mount environment, like narrow overhead environment. And of course, you can then dive it in a lake if you want to, but I think it has to be usable for its original approach. So when I look at a lot of training and a lot of systems on the market today, that's not the case. It's more designed to put any diver with one or two tanks somehow on his side in any sort of water. And there I see a big potential for problems, because somebody not really properly trained and with equipment that is not really created for narrow overhead environment suddenly has the tools to go there, or thinks he has the tools to go there, and I think that has a lot of potential for problems. So when we created the side mount program, we based it on extreme cave diving. So when you look at the training and then look at the materials we promote, this is basically what we're aiming for. But of course we have people that want to go in this configuration, no matter if they're serious technical divers or not, but at least they get proper preparation if they would like to go there.
Okay, so I understand what you mean, teaching with the end goal in mind, you could say that. But do we also offer classes for recreational divers in side mount configuration, or is it only an open circuit?
We talk about recreational, like beginning divers?
Yeah.
No.
No. Okay.
No. If you want to start your diving career and you do an IC recreational program 1 or 2, you do it classically back mount.
Okay. Okay. Thank you. Yeah, so we're back again after a glass of water and a little break. I would like to ask you a few questions about the way you teach and about some concepts that I see are being used. I just went through Instructor Training, and there's some interesting things in there which I think that instructor candidates or maybe the students would be interested to know how that works. So tell me something about your personal way of teaching. What you're looking for to create better divers, more eco-friendly divers, and divers that ultimately have more fun as well, no?
Sure.
Yeah.
Well, generally I think the most important thing is to create a thinking diver. I'm not a big fan of people following protocols blindly and do not understand the background. And therefore, I mean, it starts with this equipment buying. A good example is our BOE. I mean, the BOE allows every diver to participate. There's no, like, you have to have this kind of gear or this hose length or whatever. Just you can come in your stuff. And because I do not believe in forcing a grown-up person to buy something that he doesn't know yet. And so now he comes into the class and he experiences why he probably needs it, and then he goes and buys something, but he figured out himself that he needs it. It's a totally different approach.
So actually somebody that uses a BCD, just a traditional BCD and a normal octopus and regulator configuration with weight belts and just a normal thing can participate in this course.
Yes, of course. He can come into this course, and of course the instructor will introduce him to a backplate and a wing and a long hose and all this. But I want the person to have the chance to test this type of diving in his gear, and he will see that there's problems, and then he should have the chance in the class to check out gear, obviously for free. I mean, it's part of the deal. I mean, the instructor gives him a backplate, and he says, hey, let's try the exercise with that stuff, and he will realize, oh, this different new world, totally new world, and then he can go and get something, but now he knows why he needs it or why he wants it. And if he realizes, oh, this is not for me, he didn't spend money on something that,
makes
that
sense.
he doesn't need.
A thing that I hear often, and people are asking me regarding critical skills. Well, what are critical skills? What is a skill really, and what is the critical part of a skill then?
Yeah.
How would you define that?
Well, I said before that for us it's important to test if people are really able to handle stress on the water. So I want to give you an example. We simulate something. So we do a dive together, and I tell you up front, if I tap your shoulder, then this regulator doesn't work anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Fair enough. But in fact, it works. So you have it in your mouth, you can breathe from it. Okay, so but now you turn it off and switch to another regulator. In my opinion, that does not prepare you for what happens in a real dive when you breathe the regulator and it stops working.
Mm-hmm.
It's a different scenario. It's a different way of feeling it. So a critical skill would be you do a dive with your partner, and at some point I turn off your valve. Oops. Or I give your partner an out of gas signal after I turned off your valve. So your partner comes to you, I have no gas, you donate your long hose, you go, your backup is dead. So now you have to figure out, I mean, you have this guy in front of you that you have to take care of, and suddenly there's no gas anymore. So now you have to think, oops, okay, left side, might be a roll off, turn it back on, right? So this shows me as an instructor that you're aware of the situation, that you're aware of where your gas is coming from, which regulator you're breathing from, and you can handle that underwater.
Yes.
Of course we do this in 3 meters of water with me above you, so if you cannot handle it, I mean, there's a regulator, I'll turn it back on, whatever. This is another reason why we are so anal about our instructor qualification, because I don't want to allow everybody to do critical skills on people. I mean, this is about responsibility,
Yes.
about the life and the health of somebody else, right?
Students, yeah.
So, but this is what I consider critical skills, and they're mandatory in IC training above BOE. There is a little bit like a critical skill in BOE. There's in every BOE dive has the fun portion where you just swim around and enjoying yourself, and also practicing what you learned before. And there your instructor can come and give you an out of gas, which is not a real critical skill, but I mean it comes unannounced. And there can be air gunning, which means I think in dive number 3 you learn how to handle free-flowing valve. So after that, obviously in the fun part, you will hear gas going, so you have to respond and run through a valve shutdown procedure. But it's not a real critical skill. But in level 1 training, for example, there's open game.
Okay, all this sounds like fun also in a way.
It is.
But I can imagine that if somebody listens to this and doesn't know exactly what critical skills are about, we're talking about valve shutdowns, and we're talking about dead regulators, and it's, critical skills the word. Is the materials preparing the student to, is there materials, do we use materials for the students to understand and can read a bit more about that?
Well, yes. It's actually a good point that you bring here, it's materials. There is IC materials, basically for every class, in various languages, and but I think a lot of people do not understand the purpose of the manual. So we get a lot of complaints like, this could be more detailed and better and blah 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 blah. The manuals are like they are on purpose, because we do not emphasize this online training thing or people going on their own and self-study. We want our students to have an instructor in front of them that they can talk to, that is teaching them, that is giving full attention, because they pay for it.
Yeah.
I think it's the most fair and respectable thing to do, and I cannot understand why somebody is not happy with that. So the manual is a guideline. It helps you and the instructor to go through all the topics, and we want our students to print that out and take a pen and make notes and ask questions. There's interaction. For me personally, teaching a group of people that is sitting silently in front of me and looking what I'm saying is is no teaching. I mean, we're all grown up, but we can all learn from each other. So for me, teaching is interaction with grown people. And I mean, I learn from my students as much as they learn from me. And then the manual, the way they are, is a great tool. But it's not a book designed for self-study.
Okay.
And yes, critical skills are covered in there. So there's critical skills, and the instructor will talk about it in detail and prepare you before we go in the water. It's not like there's coming something totally unexpected on you. So you will be briefed on that, you will get an explanation. And the instructor obviously also briefs how it's done. Like, I'm swimming into your field of vision and I'm giving you this sign, means you are out of gas. Stuff like that.
Okay, also something very interesting what I learned at the ITC, the Instructor Training course, is debriefings, video debriefings for students. I think you can say that 90% of all students doesn't know what a video debriefing is, or people that have gone through a different training. Could you tell something about video debriefing? What is that exactly?
First of all, video debriefing is mandatory in IC training. So every instructor has to film every session. So the big benefit of that is, first of all, you have proof of what happened. So there's these discussions like, you stirred up sediment, you were not aware of this going on. It's not going to happen. I mean, you watch the video and there's the truth. The other thing is that it's a really tremendous instrument and tool to help the student realize what he's doing. If I tell you, you were out of trim and your knees were down, you probably didn't feel that. You felt like you were also already dipping over, head down. And when you see it on the video, you start realizing that this feeling that you had about how you are in the water does not correspond with the way you are in the water. So now you have a better chance to adjust this, right?
Yeah.
So when you're in the water next time and you again feel like, probably I'm already head down, you remember this video and it's like, no, my knees were still 40 centimeters off. So it's much easier for you to find the proper trim and the feeling that you have when you have proper trim. And you will also start realizing a lot of small things like bad habits. And I mean, video debriefing also works on dry land. You learn a lot about yourself. For example, a lot of people underwater do hand fanning. So they are standing somewhere and they do this all the time. And they don't realize it. So on the video, this means it looks horrible.
What are you doing? Yeah.
Yeah, and it helps you a lot to get these things under control.
Yeah. Okay, Achim, so something personal now, a personal question, maybe also interesting for instructor candidates. I always like to know, you're a very experienced instructor, a lot of people know you. Some people also call you a bit arrogant. But I think that's maybe something you need, you need to be, have a strong belief in what you do and the way you do things. That's why I'm asking you, So can you tell me something about your philosophy, your ideas about how to teach technical diving? Not only regarding critical skills, I don't want to talk about, but your own personal philosophy. How do you look at each student? How do you start with it? Because for me, for example, this is difficult.
But the arrogant thing, I cannot say anything. I mean, it's the question you should answer. I mean, you have 5 days with me behind you, so
he's all right.
You still talk to me. Well, for me, I mean, every person is an individual. So there's not like the rule that applies on everybody, right? So I'm always very interested in the person behind. Especially when it comes to instructor training, because I really like to know my instructors and like to interact with them. I don't want numbers somewhere in a book, but people that I can work with. And I still believe ISE to be like a family thing, a small group of individuals that work on the same goal. And this is one of the reasons why we, for example, have this instructor requalification every 3 years, because I want my instructors to be at the same spot at least every 3 years and work together and share ideas and get to know each other and also network a little bit. And with students, I mean, it really depends. I mean, obviously, I mean, you get people that you don't get a personal connection with, of course, but I mean, it's a diving class. After 5-6 days, it's over. But I really try to get as individual as possible. And I mean, the program that we created allows me to do so. So if, for example, I do a BOE class and I have very different students, like very experienced but missing some things, or just wanted to test out something new, and very inexperienced people who just that feeling that they're missing something. We have this first dive, which is basically a check dive for everybody. So the students get a little bit of an idea what the class is all about, so they can watch a little bit of demonstration and can start playing around with it. Some in their still normal configuration or their own configuration, and it also gives me a good idea of what I get. Right? I mean, okay, this guy just has buoyancy issues a little bit. Okay, he's missing everybody, and this one has a bit of a trim issue and cannot do the kicks, something like that. So I can individually focus on everybody's needs, and at the same time I spend quite a bit of time on the intro of the class. I want to know where my students come from, what made them come to ISE, what is the expectation of the class, where do they want to go from. I mean, in the BOE I can have somebody who says, well, I'm a photographer, I just want to fine-tune my skills so my photography gets better and I don't want to harm the coral or something like that. And I have something who says, well, the BOE is just the logical next step for me on my way to my cave training, something like that.
Yeah, of course.
So knowing this, I can individually focus on the personal needs. I mean, the photographer, I don't have to talk about stages and shutdown procedures on double stuff like that. And he's probably doing a BOE plus because he then covers the basic helium stuff. But he will always be a single tank diver that he just wants to fine tune his skills. I mean, the guy who wants to go about cave diving, I can also lead him a little bit in the right direction.
So if I would call that personalized training, you could call it like that.
Yeah, true. And that's very important for me.
Yeah, I think so too. So what we're not going to see then is your typical fundamentals, essentials class with a student on a line, and if he can't make it, he just it's finished. Or would you take him separate afterwards and go through little details if the time allows? If you know what
Yeah, I mean, first of all, of course, the basics of exploration is a pass-fail class, and in InnerSpace Explorers there's nothing in between. So I mean, if somebody cannot do it, he cannot do it.
There's no temporary.
No. For me, this temporary or whatever you want to call it is a little bit in favor of the instructor not having to tell the student that he failed. I don't like this.
Yeah.
On the other hand, let's say on a level 1 class, there's a very clear, I would say 25-30% failure rate. I mean, there's people who cannot do it, full stop, end of story. On the BOE, to get failed, you have to do something really stupid and dangerous. And basically that is the criteria for fail, is if you're dangerous for yourself or for somebody else, or if it's obvious that you do not want to listen and do not want to change. I mean, then there's no purpose, no reason for you to do the class. And otherwise, we have an exercise that's called the Circle of Basics. I mean, you've been through that now for a couple of days, and for me that's the measurement line. So we do this in every single dive through the class, and the student will see on the videos how his progress is going to be. The exercise has everything in it. I mean, positioning, kicks, handling equipment, buoyancy, trim control, all this is there. So on the first dive, this is probably a big mess. On the last dive, there should be good progress. And if there's good progress, the student passes. I mean, the class is not allowing him something else. It's a preparation, right? Towards something else.
Yeah.
So the training basically starts after the class. The purpose of the class is to show the student, okay, this is where you are, this is how it should look like, and here's the tool to reach this goal. So now go and train because we gave you the tool. And
yeah, I understand what you mean. Okay, now the last question is always a little bit of a sensitive topic. This agency promotes, well, maybe promotes not the word, but people like to use the word DIR, you know, like there's a couple of agencies that, you know, we are DIR or I'm a DIR diver. What are your thoughts on where are we at this?
Well, I mean, everybody knows where I'm coming from.
Yeah.
To be honest, I don't care if it's called DIR or whatever. Call it DIR-minded diving. I mean, for me, this is also not about the configuration. Obviously, I mean, when we dive back mount, no matter if single or double, I mean, we have a wing, a back plate, and a long hose. And this is not because it's called DIR or something else. I mean, this is because it works. It's the most simple, clean configuration that we know today.
Yeah.
But obviously, you see that we're open for rebreathers and side mount. And the side mount is probably a good example. I mean, you see so many people who come from this DIR diving and go into side mount, and for them the next logical consequence is they dive side mount on a long hose. I was like, why? And they because we are DIR divers now. Obviously we use a long hose, and it's like, okay, you think this is what makes it DIR? Yeah, of course. And then for me, DIR means that you donate what you breathe. And not, I mean, on a back mount configuration, obviously the long hose enables you to donate what you breathe in the most easy way, but in side mount it's not, because 50% of the time you're on your necklace. So this is, for example, why we teach 2 times 1 meter hose, because then every single time you can donate what you breathe, and this is for me DIR-minded diving. But I don't care if somebody says we are DIR or not. I mean, we do what is the most logical, safe way of doing things.
Yeah. So could I say that's more that DIR nowadays is more of a mindset?
It should be more of a mindset. I mean, if you break it down to an equipment configuration, then you miss the concept.
Yeah. Okay. Well, thank you very much, Achim.
Thank you.
I'm very proud to become an IC instructor.
We're very happy to have you.
And we're going to teach the world how to dive properly.
Thank you.
That's my
Yeah, let's see we're having fun.
Yeah.
Come on.
So this is a nice one afterwards, no? I cannot do this now. We cannot.
Shall I read them and you answer?
This is going to be beautiful. Let's stop it now for a second.